It's time for the Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
On this edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast, we'll touch on the college football playoff. We will touch on NFL games such as the Cowboys versus the Saints and the Washington football team versus the Raiders. We will also preview the matchup between the Washington football team and the Dallas Cowboys. All that and so much more. All coming your way next. You're listening to the Kirby on Sports Podcast.
Shout out Q. Shout out Q.
Indeed, I'm glad you connected. This is Dave Johnson, voice of the Washington Wizards. You have connected to the right place because you are listening to my man, Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
Coming to you from the Trumbull Insurance Agency virtual studio. Turn your stress and anxiety into peace and security with Trumbull Insurance. Please contact Patrick Bankemper today at 540-532-0622 for all your insurance needs. For the rest of our sponsors, Rieger Building Services, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, and Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, this is another edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast. And I just want to applaud Dan Dembski first and foremost for taking more time off to go to Hawaii when we're stuck here in the cold weather. I mean, it hasn't been too cold, but still, it's a lot colder than what it is in Honolulu, Hawaii, wherever Dan the Weapon Dembski is. So I hope you're enjoying yourself, Dan, for Pete's sake. But I do have the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez, on with me. Hi, Carlos.
I mean, you don't sound angry at all, at all. It's Dan, I know you're going to listen to this. I hope you do. I hope you're having a great vacation. I'm happy for you. It's clear Kirby's bitter, so I mean,
it was a joke. It was a joke.
He lies.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty funny though. It was just great to hear he went to Hawaii, and I wonder what it's like out there right now. But it's probably a
rainy,
good time.
Very rainy right now.
Well, I heard he's going surfing, taking surfing lessons. So maybe we can get some video put up on the podcast. See Dan epically falling off a surf.
Probably not, but there's wishful thinking.
Who knows? We have a lot to get to on this edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast, and we are mixing things up. First and foremost, we are talking about the newly set college football playoff. We have the number 1 seed, you guessed it, Alabama Crimson Tide against the number 4 seed Cincinnati Bearcats. And this is the more interesting matchup, the number 2 Michigan Wolverines under the direction of Jim Harbaugh against number 3 Georgia Bulldogs. Very interesting championship championship Saturday with all the conference championships going on. But it was just very interesting to see how this college playoff got set. And if you know me, I don't cover college football that often, but when I do, I hate Alabama.
Your anthem literally is the song, I Hate Alabama. That's a great song, by the way. But yeah, I mean, once again, it's like they're just like the guy from Halloween. What's his name? I can't remember.
Michael Myers.
Yeah, Michael Myers. They just never die. You think they're finally you think somebody's gonna kick these guys out. They're gonna be out of the playoff, And then they go and they dominate the number 1 team in the nation in Georgia in the SEC championship game and get the number 1 seed back. It's ridiculous how Knicks. I mean, they're like the Patriots. They won't die. They just won't die.
Yeah, I mean, as an Alabama hater, I just can't believe they're back in this position. But what do you think of those matchups, though? Yeah,
Well, I mean,
not just Alabama, Cincinnati, but Michigan, UGA as well.
Yes, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Definitely, the game of the night is going to be Michigan, Georgia, just because it just feels like I don't know. It just feels like those teams are both so close, and with so I've been rooting for Cincinnati all season. I've been hoping that finally somebody out of the Power 5, one of the Group of 5 schools, was going to get in. Cincinnati's undefeated. They show that they can compete at this level because, they beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame through the season. That's their big win. That's really what kind of got them in over Notre Dame, because Notre Dame's number 5, if I remember correctly. But, I mean, it's so hard for Cincinnati because they played well against Georgia in the Peach Bowl last year at the end of the year. But now they finally get into the playoff, and guess what your reward is? You have to play Alabama at the Cotton Bowl. Well, not at the Cotton Bowl, but in the Cotton Bowl at AT&T Stadium, of course, home of my Dallas Cowboys. Can't wait till we get into that later. It's a tough ask. It's a tough ask for Cincinnati to try to overcome. I think they're going to compete, but ultimately I think Alabama's going to take that one. But it's the Michigan-Georgia matchup that's going to be very interesting because we saw. Listen, Georgia doesn't really. I mean, Stetson, their quarterback, is not necessarily the guy who seems like he's going to win these big games.
He's a walk-on.
He's a walk-on. He was a backup at the beginning of the season. JT Daniels was the starter. JT Daniels got hurt during the season. Stetson came in. They decided just to go with Stetson for the rest of the year. The difference is he never, because of how good Georgia's defense was, the game was never in his hands. Like, it was never up to him to win the game. And we saw what happened when it was up to him to win the game. Alabama completely ran all over them, or threw all over them. Bryce Young, of course, Heisman finalist. Yeah, I mean, we haven't covered college football since last year's college football playoff. So, I mean, it kind of figured it was the right time to finally bring it back. But I think that Michigan-Georgia game is more of a toss-up for me than anything else.
Well, my reason, my thing is, when will Alabama not be in the college football playoff? When is there going to be some sort of change, some sort of uniformity to the fact that you can't always pick Alabama number 1 or put them in the college?
Well, I mean, if they're the best team, what are you supposed to do? It's up to these other teams to out-recruit them. I mean, it's just that simple.
Well, even they had 2 losses, right?
No, Alabama's only had 1. They only lost to Texas A&M.
Well, I feel like Alabama wouldn't be in the spot they are in if Auburn beat them. But it went to 4 overtime.
But Auburn didn't beat them. Ultimately, Alabama persevered. It's not as if Alabama had been number 1 this whole time. They were number 3 going into this matchup against Georgia. Georgia was the number 1 team since Alabama lost to Texas A&M. Everybody had Georgia winning. Georgia has the defense to do this. They did not perform. Alabama dominated them, and that's why they're the number 1 team in the nation.
Yep. They just keep coming back every single year. So the college football playoff, I'm going to take Alabama, unfortunately, over Cincinnati. And
You have to.
Yeah. I think that's going to be just not even a contest in my
No. It's going to be Cincinnati is very good. They're a really good team.
I don't think Cincinnati can keep up.
But you haven't really watched the Cincinnati play.
I've done some highlight watching throughout.
But you don't actually watch the team play in and play out like I do. I watch pretty much everything. But Georgia, I mean, they took Georgia to the Georgia had to pull that game out of their ass last year against Cincinnati. Cincinnati, I mean, they're going to the Big 12 soon, so they're going to be out of the group of 5. They're going to move into the Power 5 now that, Oklahoma and Texas, moved over to the SEC where they're not going to do anything. But now Cincinnati is moving into the Big 12, so they're a big enough program now where they can get out of the Power 5 and into the group of 5 into the Power 5. They're a good team. There's a reason why they're 12-0. They've beaten Notre Dame at Notre Dame this season. I mean, their quarterback, Desmond Ridder, is very good. I mean, they have a lot of weapons that match, and they have a lot of weapons on defense that match up very well with Alabama. Alabama's missing one of their top wide receivers who tore his ACL in the SEC championship game. So I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I don't think Cincinnati will win, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout like you're thinking it's going to be. Cincinnati will make it competitive, but not competitive enough where it seems like Alabama's going to lose it.
So if it's Alabama in the national championship game again, who do we think they're facing?
Honestly, see, that's what I'm saying. This Michigan-Georgia game is such a toss-up.
I think Michigan could win it.
Michigan could win it. Georgia's defense they're still good. They just had a very bad day at the office against Alabama. You're going up against Nick Saban. What do you expect? Michigan could do it. But these teams are just so. I mean, right now the opening line is 7.5 points in favor of Georgia. I don't know. Like I just don't know. Like they're saying Georgia's going to be up by can win this game by a touchdown, but I just want to know how they respond to the way they lost to Alabama. Like how does this team respond to it? Michigan right now is on a roll. My heart is kind of saying Michigan, but my head is saying Georgia.
It's going to be really interesting in the college football playoff. Once again, the number 1 seed Alabama facing the number 4 seed Cincinnati, and the number 2 seed in Michigan facing the number 3 seed in UGA. We'll talk NFL football right after this break. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you about Regroup Building Services. If you're looking to get your home remodeled, any part of your home, bathroom, kitchen, want to get a deck built, anything like that, Regroup Building Services can just about do everything. And take it from me, because they came in and they remodeled my family's kitchen, and they do a great job. So if you're looking for any sort of home remodeling needs, deck work done, anything of that nature, reach out to my guy Sean Hibbard over at Regroup Building Services today. You can check them out on their website, www.regroupbuildingservices.com, where they do the honeydews that your honey don't. Make sure you tell them Josh sent you. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Man, now we can talk about some football that we both like in the NFL. Let's start off with Carlos's Cowboys in a big win over the New Orleans Saints. Carlos Martinez, I mean, let me just ask you one thing. 4 interceptions by this Dallas defense. You must have been out of your seats screaming, hooting, hollering. Man, my Dallas Cowboys, 4 interceptions. How many did Trayvon have?
1.
1? Just 1?
Yeah.
Well, good grief.
He should have had 2. He had an opportunity at 2, but he dropped the... I mean, I kind of figured Trayvon was going to get at least 1.
Well, 4 interceptions I mean, that does not help at all. And this solidifies more the fact that Taysom Hill shouldn't be
Stinks. Taysom Hill is
he
garbage.
shouldn't be paid as much as he is.
No, I don't. I mean, we got our sample size of Taysom Hill last season. He was 3-1, but I mean, they had Alvin Kamara. They had, I think at that point, they still had, what's their wide receiver's name again? I can't remember his name right now.
The
guy who's out right now, Michael Thomas.
Thomas, yeah.
Yes, Michael Thomas. Yeah, Michael Thomas. I think they still had. I think he was still playing at that point, or he might have been out at that point. I don't remember. But I mean, they didn't look good. They didn't look the best with Taysom Hill in, and Taysom Hill's just not a good quarterback. He's not. I've always said it. I don't understand why he's a good utility player. He's a good gadget guy, but he's not a starting quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. I can agree with that because, I mean, his utility role, he seemed to be working nice. I mean, I feel like he could be plugged into the defense and do I
don't know about the defense, but
I mean, he has been plugged in there. Punt return.
That's not defense, that's special teams.
Yeah, special teams. I mean, he's plug and play, but he's not good at one position. I don't think he can be thrown into quarterback and
just be exclusively a quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, what they were doing differently, the Saints were putting him in different positions, and so teams would have to game plan. Oh, where's Taysom gonna be? But strictly as a quarterback and nothing else. I mean, it's
you don't fear him. Yeah. Like I had no fear going. Like you saw it in the group messages. Dan was trying to get me to be a little worried. I was like, I'm not worried. It's Taysom Hill. Like Dallas could have, could be playing. Our offense could be playing, which our offense did play very rough. It wasn't the best showing from our offense, which is starting to get a little concerning, considering where we are at the season. But I still had no fear. I was like, it's Taysom Hill. He's going to give us the game. And while Taysom Hill was effective as a runner, I never feared him through the air. I knew he was going to make dumb mistakes. He made 4 dumb mistakes. We got the pick, or I'm sorry, not the pick six, the thick six, from our defensive linemen. I mean, I just never feared Taysom Hill. He doesn't scare me whatsoever.
I mean, looking at this Dallas Cowboys team from an offensive perspective in this game, it didn't seem like they were moving the ball well.
No.
Running wise, it looks like Zeke Elliott's still nursing that injury.
He is.
He's not. Put him on.
It doesn't look like it. He is nursing that injury. Like that injury is hindering him.
Yeah.
A lot. Like you can tell he just runs different. He's not running the same way he was running earlier in the season. He needs to. I understand that he doesn't want to. He wants to be there for his team. That he wants to be tough. But like we need him in the playoffs, and But we'll see what they do.
CeeDee Lamb still looks like he's still looking good. 7 receptions, 89 yards, and Dalton Schultz. I think Dalton Schultz is really good for the Cowboys as well. He had 5 receptions, 43 yards. So your receivers, I mean, putting up some numbers, not a lot of crazy stat popping numbers, but still. And you had Cooper back.
Yeah, Amari Cooper obviously came back from COVID. He only had I think it was 30 snaps. He didn't have a lot. He's on a pitch count, or he was on a pitch count for that game. I don't know if he's going to be a pitch count against Washington. It was a strange week leading up to it because, of course, Mike McCarthy tested positive for COVID. He watched the game from a hotel room in Dallas. And Dan Quinn, our Lord and Savior on defense, he obviously
that wasn't going to be an issue, though. I mean, Dan Quinn, he had head coaching experience.
Yeah, he had head coaching experience, but I mean, it's different when you're not the head coach of the team, having to step into that role and also run the defense the way he likes to run the defense is I have to applaud Dan Quinn. He did a fantastic job, being the taking on that role. Thankfully, he's had experience. The person who really suffered from Mike McCarthy not being there, I think, who lost a lot of shine in this game was Kellen Moore, our offensive coordinator. Because the thing about it is Mike McCarthy, he's the CEO of everything. So if he doesn't like something that Kellen Moore calls, he has the power to override it and say, hey, I don't like that play, call another play. We saw it time and time again during this game. They kept trying to run it in between the tackles, and it was not working. And Kellen Moore continued to call it. And then when we needed him to actually call a run play, he was calling a pass play, and we were going 3 and out in like a minute and 7 seconds and not capitalizing on all these, turnovers that we were getting. And finally, our defense was like, you know what? If the offense is going to shut this game down, we're going to do it ourselves, and got of course, pick 6. It's I think he's definitely the big loser, or one of the big losers in this game is Kellen Moore, because there's a lot of talk of him. People were even saying, not me, we're saying, hey, at the end of the season, why don't we fire Mike McCarthy and just promote Kellen Moore to head coach?
That's a bad idea.
Yeah, now it looks like a bad idea. But then, or enjoy Kellen Moore while we can, because at the end of the season, he's gone. He's going to be a head coach at some other team. This was his chance to shine. He did not shine. He called a abysmal game. His play calling since the bye week has been awful. Dallas's offense does not look at all the same. And I understand we still won. I should be, a lot of us, we should be happy, as not you, of course, because you're not a Cowboys fan, but as Cowboys fans, we should be happy. We should be celebrating. We're 8-4, but we've seen what this team offensively looks like. Defensively, they're holding their end of the bargain right now. Offense, ever since we came back from the bye, ever since Dak got, that strained calf, and it just hasn't looked the same. Now, we have to also factor in the fact that they've had guys missing. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb have all missed time. So going into this Washington game, this is the first time it looks like we're going to have everybody back, including the guys on defense. So our excuses are starting to run out of the whole, we're missing guys, our head coach is out. We got to stop with that. Now is the long stretch. Dallas needs to figure it out offensively. Luckily, we've had this mini bye week with 10 days off since we're going Thursday to Sunday. So hopefully we've done some self-reflection and we can figure something out. But Dallas offensively in this game against the Saints did not look the best.
Yeah. I mean, I think you summed it up very perfectly there, Carlos. I don't really have much to add, but like I said, like I just touched on, Dan Quinn was the interim head coach, and it just looked like he went down onto the sidelines with his hat on backwards with not a care in the world. Like, hey, I'm just going to coach this football team today.
Yeah, I mean,
I've never seen a head coach wear his hat backwards before.
I'm pretty sure somebody's worn his hat backwards. I mean, it's not.
Dan Quinn just looks like a chill coordinator. Like, I'm just here to coach my guys up and win football games.
I mean, he's definitely got a lot less on his plate than he did when he was at Atlanta. So
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm still confident in my team. We're gonna figure it out. The offense just needs to work on some things, and what better week to do it and prove and shut the world up than against Washington, which we'll touch on later.
Yeah, we'll touch on that shortly. The Cowboys 27 and the Saints 17. The next game we will talk about, another close game, another 17-15 victory, because on Monday night they won 17-15. Also, the Washington football team over the Las Vegas Raiders. And Carlos, I'll tell you this, the Washington football team going into this game, I was sort of scared that the Raiders would beat this team. And the Raiders were out Darren Waller and their starting running back too, I believe. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but
was it Josh Jacobs?
No, he played.
No.
it was I forget who it was exactly, but I mean the Raiders played decent offensively. Hunter Renfrow, I don't know. Washington just couldn't find his number. He had 9 receptions for 102 yards.
Same here. We couldn't figure him out either.
Oh yeah, I mean Hunter Renfrow. It's like he's just moving around, finding ways to get open. Oh my god,
he's just sneaky. He's just a sneaky guy.
Absolutely sneaky. And I mean, Carr, he looked decent, 28 for 38, 249 yards, but no touchdowns. Josh Jacobs ran in for a touchdown as well. So it ran in for the touchdown, no passing touchdowns, but I think the defense played well again. I think they had another good game for this Washington football team, and that really helped. But I feel like some of the stuff Washington needs to work on is obviously they could have had a bigger lead than 7-3 going into half, but it just didn't work out. And those are some of the things Washington needs to correct in order to succeed in the gauntlet. Dallas, Philly, New York. And it starts with correcting the mistakes that this team has made in this game. And I'll be the first to say, this Washington football team, seeing how they played, Dallas would smack them by 50 if they don't change anything. Oh, nod your head. Okay. Well, Carlos is disagreeing with me, but I disagree with Carlos because Dallas...
You always have this very doom and gloom look on things, where I see it from the Dallas Cowboys perspective. You know what? We have to wait because this isn't the segment for it. We have to wait. Go on.
So, anyways, the offense, Taylor Heineke, my gosh, Taylor Heineke can move around.
Yeah, he can.
I mean, he knows how to move around in the pocket. But the one thing that really irritated me with Taylor Heineke, he put a high point on the football. And that is not good in some situations. He had his hand pick turned into an interception. For him, obviously. I mean, it wasn't ideal, but I understand he had his hand hit, but still, high point on the football. And you can't have that all the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, that touchdown by Logan Thomas, he had to reach up and literally grab it in order to get it, but that was a nice touchdown.
Beautiful catch. Sad that he's going to be out for this game.
Yeah. Yannick Ngakoue. That low block tore his ACL. He's out for the season. I mean, looking at that, I feel like it was a very dirty hit.
Yeah,
but
agreed.
It was terrible. There's no place for it in football. The run game for Washington, they look pretty good. Antonio Gibson, 23 carries for 88 yards. Unfortunately, J.D. McKissick was out in concussion protocol, so they had Wendell Smallwood in there and Curtis Samuel mixed in there at running back as well. The game once again came down to the wire, and we had a brand new kicker out of Virginia Tech, Brian Johnson, who's been in the league. He played for the Saints most recently, if memory serves correct, and he drills what is the game-winning field goal, and Washington just had to play solid defense for 38 seconds. And they almost blew it with that deep ball, but...
Nah, not really.
I mean, it looked touchy-feely. I'm glad nothing was called, but it was like, let the players play in that situation. But I was like, yeah, that doesn't look good. And then they throw Hail Mary.
I think the refs are about done giving the Raiders all those PI calls. I think they used them all in the Dallas game.
Yeah, but then obviously Carr throws that Hail Mary coming up short, and the Washington football team are now on a 4-game winning streak. And I mean, they look good, but there's still a lot to work on. Heineke needs to stop putting that darn high point on the football, or or Trayvon Diggs will sniff out a football to take to the opposing team's end zone, if you know what I mean.
I don't know if he'll get a pick six, but I mean.
But still, high point of the football you got to work on. Still keep that run-first mentality. And the defense just has to play better. And it might be...
They play pretty good, I mean.
It might be even better with Montez Sweat. He may be coming back this week. But I'd like to get your thoughts on this game.
I mean, I don't really have too many thoughts. I mean, obviously, it's a huge turnaround for Washington to, go on this nice stretch where now they put themselves in prime position to get into the playoffs. I was even messing with like the playoff machine on ESPN and all that stuff, and like I was like working out scenarios and stuff, and like even if say like they do lose to Dallas twice in this next 3-week stretch, they're still in a great position to make the playoffs. But more to this game, I think this game to show that they can win these close types of games and rely on their defense now again, and this defense is starting to play back up to the level that they were playing at the end of last season. I think that's a huge thing for Washington, and that's why it's making this matchup against the Cowboys coming up. That's why it's making it so interesting. And I wish it was in prime time, but that's not going to be until they're in Dallas. That's when it's going to be in prime time. But this one's going to be a 1 o'clock.
Christmas.
Yeah. That's why, and this one's going to be a 1 o'clock kickoff, which I still find so not like this is a prime time game. What are we doing? Yeah, I mean, for them to go to Vegas, obviously distraction city right there, and to be locked in and to win a close game like that, despite all the things that were kind of going against them, and losing, Logan Thomas, who's been, didn't he just come back too?
Yeah, he just came back too. Towards ACL.
You immediately lose him off of a dirty block.
He's really, really good. He's a valuable asset that this offense will miss.
Yeah, he provides that. He's basically Heineke's security blanket. He's a guy that he's big. He's pretty mobile. I mean, he's got great hands. I mean, that touchdown catch was incredible, despite the fact that it was a high pointed ball. I mean, Washington right now are in a good spot, like I said, but agreed, they do have some things they need to clean up, and a lot of it's what you listed.
Yep. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. And like myself and Carlos said, next week, Washington plays Dallas. It's going to be very interesting. We'll get into that shortly. But once again, the Washington football team 17 and the Vegas Raiders 15. I will say one thing, though. Mm-hmm. That stadium is very nice.
Yeah. It's I mean, don't you just wish Washington could get something like that?
It'd be nice.
They will never get a stadium as nice as Allegiant Stadium is, but come on. Like, they go to these places. I mean, Allegiant Stadium is a very nice stadium. It's smack dab in the middle of Vegas. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that place goes.
One thing I forgot to mention is Taylor Heineke got pressured a lot, and Raiders defensive player Max Crosby. I'm not a big fan of him because, that roughing the passer call, he's straight put
Did Crosby play? I don't think Crosby played.
Oh, Crosby played. He made his presence known. The O-line started, it started getting chippy there, and he threw his whole body weight, and it caused a penalty roughing the passer, obviously. And he was like, why me? And he was like complaining. And I was like, oh man, that just looked bad. And it got chippy there. Like one of the players held Heineke down for a little bit too long and like just holding him down. And then the O-line started getting around those players, and it almost broke out into a fight. But the chippiness there towards some of it. But I don't like Max Crosby. I really don't get a good vibe when I see him play, and that's just from the Washington football team.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on him, but Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. So coming up next, we will run through the hurry up offense right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com.
Hey, sports fans. Thank you for listening to and supporting the Kirby on Sports podcast with founder and host Josh Kirby, along with lead contributor Dan Dembski. Like, subscribe, and give them a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast from. My name is Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation. Our company helps leaders build engaged and productive teams. Exclusively for listeners of the Kirby on Sports podcast, you can take an opportunity to discover your primary communication style and learn more about effective communication with others. Text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free copy of the Working From Home Communication Assessment, where you'll learn your primary communication style, how to better communicate with others not like you, and tips on working remotely based on your personal communication style. 10 minutes, tons of resources. Learn about yourself and your team. Again, text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free assessment report today. I'm Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, where we help you and your team be more engaged and productive by understanding each other better. Back to you, Josh.
I'm Josh. Alongside me, the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez. It's time for the hurry up offense. Carlos, are you ready?
Let's do it.
The Falcons and the Bucs. The Falcons kept this game close, but the Buccaneers eventually running away to take this game. One takeaway from this game for me, Tom Brady's pick six by that lineman or whatever. It was like, he was like, why'd I do that?
I mean, Tom Brady still owns Atlanta, so.
Yes, he does.
I mean, there's not much to say. So what? He threw a pick six. I mean, he still got the victory.
Absolutely.
And he's actually the favorite to win the MVP.
That's incredible. But I'm not surprised anymore.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you can't give it a. I mean, we could. I don't know. I mean, it's like nobody wants to win it, so it's like they're just like, screw it. Let's just give it a Tom Brady.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals 33, the Bears 22, in Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins' first game back since injury. They played pretty well. I mean, Kyler, not the best, but Andy Dalton with 4 picks. Come on.
Oof, yeah.
That Bears team is not looking good.
No, Nagy is on his way out. There's no way you can keep him another season. But for Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins to come back, and yeah, sure, they didn't put up monster numbers, but they didn't need to against the Bears. I mean, the Bears kind of lost the games themselves. Yeah, I mean, Kyler Murray, if he had he not gotten hurt and been out for like the last month, it was only 3 weeks, but it felt like a month. I mean, he'd still probably be in MVP, contention, but because he missed those three weeks, he has no shot. But I don't know. I'm still not afraid of the Cardinals. Why am I still not afraid of the Cardinals?
I don't know. They're 10-2. I think they're still flying under the radar, in my opinion.
I think so. I mean, Dallas plays them, before, in the middle of the gauntlet that we're about to have between all the NFC East teams. So we'll see what happens then. But I mean, good for Kyler Murray to come back and be healthy and look like that. But I think that's the thing that doesn't scare me about the Cardinals is that Kyler Murray just can't stay healthy. And without Kyler Murray, they're not that dynamic of a team. I mean, Colt McCoy did all right, but I don't fear Colt McCoy.
Yeah, absolutely. The Chargers over the Bengals, 41-22. This was a game that very much surprised me. I thought the way the Chargers have been going, the Bengals could win this game, but the Chargers...
Bengals were close.
Bengals were close, but then a turnover. The Chargers took a fumble to the house. I'm like, how do you fumble a ball like that? And Herbert, 317 yards in the air, and Joe Burrow, 300 yards, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow, your doppelganger. He hurt his pinky in the game. You saw that. Like, that thing blew up.
Oh, my gosh, man.
And, he tried to throw and it just, like, you could see he screamed in pain when he did it. Like, that pinky was definitely bothering him, but this seems to be the way the Bengals go. They beat the Ravens. They have all this expectation on them. They're like, oh my God, like they get all this praise. Expectations are starting to build up on them, and then they drop a game against against the Browns. Then they go on another run. They beat the Raiders. They look great against the Raiders, and then they drop this game against the Chargers. It just seems like they're still trying to figure things out. And also, I mean, Jamar Chase, I mean, he dropped a couple key passes in this game. But I mean, the Chargers back in it. They're back in it. I don't know if they're back, but they're back in it.
Moving right along, Motor City, Dan Campbell is no longer winless. The Lions hosted the Minnesota Vikings. They fell, they bit a kneecap, and they got right back up. They fell, they bit a kneecap and got right back up again, and it came down to one final play with no time left. St. Brown, Jared Goff to St. Brown, and the Lions win 29-27. The Browns have finally won their first win since December of last year. The Detroit Lions in Motor City, Dan Campbell.
Hold on. You said the Browns. Why did you say the
Browns? The Lions.
You corrected yourself later on by saying the Detroit Lions, but I was like, he just said the Browns. What the hell?
The Lions and the Vikings. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, congratulations. What a great weekend for Michigan. You guys win the Big Ten championship. You guys, Detroit finally gets their first win of the season. Obviously, with the tragedy that happened earlier last week of the school shooting, thoughts and prayers to that, to all the families that lost, someone, and yeah, just horrible. But for Dan Campbell to dedicate a game ball and recite the names of the four students who lost their lives was a nice touch. But for for the Vikings, come on, what type of defense were you playing? You guys didn't even defend the goal line. You're playing prevent defense
at all. You're
playing prevent defense in the red zone. Like, what are you doing? Mike Zimmer's done. He's out. And Kirk Cousins stinks still. How do you lose that game? And Justin Jefferson had a fantastic game, and you still lost.
I don't get it. But happy for the Lions. They were hyped. They were hyped to get that first win.
This is the first time. I heard this interesting stat the other day. This is the first time Detroit has scored over 20 points since week 1.
Wow. That's
insane. So good job. I mean, they've been a scrappy team. They've just had a bad go at it. They've lost these close games to finally win one. I mean, you saw how hard they celebrated. It meant so much to them.
Yep, that's all I got. Moving on. The Colts shut out the Texans.
I mean, surprised. I mean, color me surprised.
Yeah. There's trouble with the New York Giants. The Dolphins beat them 20-9 with not a single touchdown by the
There's
New York
no
Giants.
trouble with the New York Giants. This is just who the Giants are.
And Mike Glennon goes out with a concussion, and they just signed Matt Fromm. Jake Fromm.
His name is Jake Fromm, not Matt Fromm. Who the hell is Matt Fromm? His evil twin brother?
Jake Fromm.
Yes, they just signed Jake Fromm, of course. He's formerly University of Georgia quarterback, who was part of those two epic collapses against Alabama. It looks like he's going to be the starter. Daniel Jones, of course, is having issues with his neck. It doesn't look like he's going to be coming back within the next 2 weeks. It doesn't look like he's definitely not coming back this week. Trouble in New York, I guess. But for the Dolphins, they have completely turned their season around. I mean, they're now 6-7. There was we crossed them off. We thought they had no shot at coming back.
Yeah. They're looking pretty good. I'd say there's still a lot of season left for this Dolphins team, but they're 6-7. Mm-hmm. Who knows? They could sneak into the playoffs. The AFC so wide open, but who knows? All right, moving on. Minshew Mania is back, baby. 33-18, the Eagles beat the Jets. And Gardner Minshew in place of Jalen Hurts, 20 for 25, 242 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, let's pump the brakes. I mean, Gardner Minshew did this against the Jets. I mean, it's the Jets. It's not like he did this against, Tampa Bay or something. I mean, I do think Gardner Minshew is a pretty good, decent quarterback. I don't want to say good. He's like a level below good. He's a serviceable quarterback. He's like a Taylor Heineke level quarterback. I guess the question is there a quarterback controversy in Philly? Are they gonna if Jalen Hurts is healthy this week, is he going to start, or are they going with Gardner Minshew? I mean, Gardner Minshew can do things with this offense that it seems like Jalen Hurts can't. So I don't know. It'll be interesting, but I have no fear of either quarterback.
The Rams over the Jaguars, 37-7.
I mean, they're supposed to win this game, but I don't believe in the Rams. I don't think they're for real. I don't. With all these acquisitions and stuff, it just shows. I don't know. You're supposed to beat a team like this. Finally, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, something about the Rams. I just don't trust them.
Yeah. I can agree with you there. I can agree with you there. But this next game, the Steelers over the Ravens, 20-19.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, that play call at the very end. Mark Andrews, and he just can't get it for 2 because they ran out of corners. Baltimore's just so injury-ridden. It's crazy. And
brutal.
This was a classic division game.
Yeah, a very defensive game, very, tough, grinded out defensive battle, not a whole lot of offense. Lamar there's something going on with Lamar. I feel like he's throwing these very errant passes, and they're starting to cost his team. Mark, it just seems like, I don't know if it's maybe he doesn't necessarily trust his receivers, aside from Mark Andrews, but that 2-point conversion, I still think that was the right call. Might as well just go for the win. You guys are completely out of corners at this point. I don't know what they're going to do now. I mean, they're just going to have to sign some off the street, basically. But I thought it was the right play. I thought the play call was good too. It's just, we got TJ Watt breathing down your neck. You got to get rid of it quickly, and it just looked like Andrews just didn't really get a chance to turn and make a great play on the ball. It was in his hands, but he dropped it. So, what do you think? Do you think that was a good play call?
I think if he spotted the ball a little bit more towards Andrews' front, he would have caught it and went in.
Mm.
Yeah, but I mean, what does this mean for the Ravens? They don't have the number 1 seed. That's to New England now, and this Ravens team seems to be collapsing. Will we even see them in the playoffs?
Know. They'll be in the playoffs. I don't think they're collapsing. I just think they're. I mean, it's like every team goes through. They're going through a rough patch right now. Lamar's just got to tighten some things up and, kind of get back to what he was doing earlier in the season. I mean, I really wish we had Dan on because I would like to hear Dan's insight on this game. But
let's ring Dan from Hawaii.
And also, it's like you said, it's a division game. Division games are so unpredictable because of their division games. Like, they just don't ever go the way you think they're going to go.
Yeah, that is true, but a very good matchup in the 425 slot. The Steelers over the Ravens, 20-19. The Seahawks with a shocking win over the 49ers, 30-23. I thought the Seahawks couldn't do it, but they did it.
They did it, but I mean, the 49ers helped them. I mean, Jimmy G made some very boneheaded throws and plays and just, I don't know. I still don't think the Seahawks are going to make the playoffs, but they finally won they won another game at home, but I think it's still too late for them to make that push for the playoffs.
The Chiefs over the Broncos, 22-9. I'm surprised this game was on prime time.
I don't know why they flexed this game. I don't know why.
I have no clue, but the Chiefs seem to be in business once again.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, or Dan, of course, jumped the gun in the group message and was like, the Chiefs offense is back. I knew it was only the first drive. And again, Kansas City's offense still does not look the same. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is just what it is. I don't know what, but I mean, we're still, everybody's still like waiting. Everybody's like, when is this team going to wake up? Defensively, though, Kansas City has really, really, really stepped it up. Obviously, this was against Teddy Bridgewater. He's not really known to be that type of quarterback where, he's gonna light you guys, light him up. But I mean, Sorensen finally getting Sorensen got a pick six. Like, what is going on in Denver? I mean, Vic Fangio, this is probably his last year there. I mean, it's clearly this is not working. And for Kansas City, listen, they can ride their defense, but their offense is gonna have to pick it up, especially towards the playoffs. But hey, Kansas City's in sole possession of first place in the West, and it looks like they're going to make the playoffs. And if their offense can wake up and actually start playing at the level that we expect them to, this team is going to be scary, and they might make a Super Bowl run if that happens.
Absolutely. Last but not least, the New England Patriots defeat the Buffalo Bills. The Patriots are now 9-4. They have the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. In the wind gusts in Buffalo, it was crazy. But let me just say one thing. Who do you think wins this game with Mac Jones throwing 2 for 3 in 19 yards?
Yeah, you would say it would be Buffalo, but obviously that's not how it went.
Run first mentality for the New England Patriots. Mac Jones only throwing the ball 3 times. That's incredible. 14-10. That is incredible, Carlos.
I guess. I mean, I wasn't overall impressed, but I mean, given the conditions, I guess it was pretty impressive. I mean, the reason why I'm not impressed is because what's going on with Buffalo? This is supposed to be their era of the AFC East. They're supposed to be dominating the East. New England's supposed to be in a rebuild. They're not even supposed to be in this position. It's supposed to be between the Bills and the Dolphins. The Patriots aren't supposed to be here. And here they are. Bill Belichick, just like Nick Saban, won't die. He won't. He just won't go away. He's the Michael Myers of the NFL. He will not die. You can try as much as you want to put this man down, but he has they have the tiebreaker on Buffalo. They still have one more game to play, but that game's in New England. I mean, how is Buffalo going to walk in there and hopefully the conditions won't be the same and we can actually see what a matchup between Buffalo and New England, with normal conditions looks like, where Mac Jones is passing more than 3 times. But I mean, my goodness, like I just don't think Buffalo has it this year. I just don't think they're that team that we thought they were going to be this season.
Yeah, like Dan keeps saying, the AFC is still wide open.
It's
in my
wide
opinion.
open. It's so. I mean, think about it. If the NFC, we got 9-3 teams, we got a 10-2 team, we got Dallas at 8-4, LA at 8-4, and then it like drops off. But then in the AFC, like everybody's still in play. Like even though Baltimore lost, like they're still not out of getting the 1 seed. They're only 1 game behind. New England could slip up, and I mean, who's to say that they won't? They still got that other game against Buffalo. I mean, I don't know. This season has just been so nuts and chaotic. I just don't understand what's happening.
That is the Hurry Up Offense. Carlos and I will be back to wrap things up right after that.
Hey there, this is Mark Francis of Icon Real Estate. If you have any real estate needs in the Winchester surrounding area, including West Virginia, give me a call. I've got extensive experience, been in the business for almost 20 years, and would love to help you out. Track me down at Icon Real Estate, iconsells.com, or even give me a call, 540-247-1527. Again, Icon Sells, ICONSELLS.com, and I would love to chat with you and help you out. Give me a call.
All right, welcome back. What are we looking out for next week? I think we all know it's a matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington football team, a rivalry renewed. The Washington football team will unfortunately lose to this game 60-0.
Right.
Oh, what you beg to differ there, Carlos?
I mean, it's not going to be 60-0.
Oh, it's going to be 70-0.
No, come on, Kirby. Let's be serious here. Listen, this is at least from the Dallas Cowboys fans' perspective. Okay. A lot of people were putting a lot of stock in the Chiefs game, just because it was the Chiefs. I think, and saying like that was the most important game of the season thus far. This is the most important game of the season thus far, because if Dallas loses this game, we will only have a 1-game lead in the NFC East. Washington will be in play to win the division, and on top of that, we still have one more game against Washington. Of course, because we have the sandwich schedule right now where the 2 Washington games are the bread, and then we have the Giants in the middle. But yeah, this is the most important game just because it is a division. Like, this is an NFC game. Like, this one matters. Like, if we lose this, it's going to count against us hard if we go into tiebreakers. So and on top of that, we have everybody coming back. We have Randy Gregory is expected to play in this game. Mike McCarthy is obviously going to be back. We've had 10 days of rest. Well, not necessarily 10 full days, but we've had 10 days, between games. So we've had plenty of time to figure this out. And, all our offensive weapons are back. Zeke, of course, is the question mark. We don't know what they're planning. Are they planning on sitting him? Are they planning on maybe having him in a even more restricted role and just have him have a couple snaps here and there, but really feature Tony Pollard more? There's so many, and the other thing is offensively, just in general, is this the game we finally get back on track where we stop with these idiotic play calls that Kellen Moore has been calling as of late? On the Washington side, I mean, what do you think about and in all seriousness, obviously you like to make the joke they're gonna lose 60-0, 70-0. Yeah, I know you like to try to throw me off the scent, but I know you think differently than that.
Well, Washington needs to play a lot better than they did against Las Vegas, obviously. If Taylor Heineke can play smart progressive football with no turnovers, there's a chance. And they have to run the football still. You cannot shy away from the run with this Dallas defense. So that's what it comes down to. And the defensive side, obviously, just make sure you're playing good defense. The secondary lockdown, you got to make sure you're on CD Lamb, Amari Cooper, those weapons, and you might have yourself a close football game. But there's a lot of moving parts that have to work correctly in order for this Washington football team to have a shot against Dallas.
Yeah, I think this is, and I said this like I think 2 weeks ago, that the Washington game is is like scares me, because listen, there were some things that Taysom Hill did that if it's Taylor Heineke in that position, I mean, Taylor Heineke makes the play, whereas Taysom Hill does not make the play. I don't know necessarily. I think Dallas is going to win this game. I do think Dallas is going to win this game, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means, because it's a division game. You can't necessarily put that, as a blowout. But I think in terms of like, I don't know. It's just interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go Dallas 24, Washington 17. I think Washington's going to score, but I do predict a Diggs interception for sure in this game.
I predict that too.
And a Micah Parsons sack.
I predict that too. Dallas 30, Washington 17.
So we're both thinking Washington's going to score 17.
I think that's reasonable.
It's a reasonable score, but I think it'll be a lot closer just because it's the division game, just because Washington's defense is playing a lot better and Dallas's offense is not playing the best right now. If Dallas comes out and the first drive is going to tell us a lot, right? If Dallas comes out and has an easy first drive, it's going to be a long day in the office for Washington, right? Yep. But if Washington puts up a fight, makes it hard on Dallas, and we come out with only a field goal on that first drive, it's going to be a close game. That first Dallas drive is going to tell a lot. For Washington, I mean, I just don't know if you guys have the weapons to beat Dallas, but I still don't put it out of the question. There's that small possibility that Washington could pull this out.
It's going to be interesting to see. The best of luck to you, Carlos.
I mean, should we live stream the game?
Ooh, I don't know.
Should we live stream? When does Dan come back?
We will inquire about that.
We have to. We can discuss this off air. We don't want to put his business out on the pod.
Absolutely, but that about wraps things up. Carlos, thanks again for coming on with us. Dan, we missed you, and Dan should be on with us next week.
Yeah, he'll be freshly tanned and, all Hawaii'd out. Hopefully he'll be wearing the little flower necklace. He'll be talking like a Hawaiian. He'll be going, he'll be doing the keep it loose thing.
This has been another edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Thanks to Trumbo Insurance. Contact Patrick Van Kemper at 540-532-0622 for all your insurance needs. And our sponsors, Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserve, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, and Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. You can check out anything and everything, the Kirby on Sports podcast, at kirbyonsports.com. And always, until the next time you hear us, always remember to create greatness. So long and peace out.